Storm Danial, also known as Cyclone Danial, was the deadliest and costliest Mediterranean tropical-like cyclone ever recorded, as well as the deadliest weather event of 2023 to date. Forming as a low-pressure system around September 4, 2023, the storm affected Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey with extensive flooding. The storm then organized as a Mediterranean low and was designated as Storm Danial, in which it soon acquired quasi-tropical characteristics, TLC, and moved toward the coast of Libya, where it caused catastrophic flooding before degenerating into a remnant low. The storm was the result of an omega block, as a high-pressure zone became sandwiched between two zones of low pressure, the isobars shaping a Greek letter omega. Because of the storm's short-lived and sudden nature, storm preparations were minimal. Citation needed in Greece. The storm was considered the worst in recorded history, with severe rainfall leading to flooding that caused more than €2 billion in damage. Libya was hit the hardest, with torrential rains causing two dams near the city of Derna to fail. This resulted in thousands of deaths, with between 10,000 and 100,000 people missing, although exact figures varied by source. Libya's vulnerability to such disasters was blamed on its civil war, which damaged critical infrastructure and left it in poor condition before Danial. In the aftermath, several countries along the Mediterranean Sea pledged to provide aid to affected countries. Meteorological history. An area of low pressure developed over the Ionian Sea with its surface temperature within the range of tropical transition. On September 4, an atmospheric disturbance moved southwards over the Balkan Peninsula, which led to torrential rains, notably over the Thessaly region. The system became a Mediterranean cyclone over the Ionian Sea the following day, and was named Storm Danial by the Hellenic National Meteorological Service. During the following days, the system moved southeastward, peaking as a subtropical storm with winds recorded by instruments on METOP at 45 knots, 83 km per hour, 52 miles per hour. The storm then made landfall near the city of Benghazi in Libya. On September 10, Danial went east and continued inland before degenerating into a remnant low due to dry air and land interaction later on, with the storm fully dissipating by September 12. Impact. On September 5, flooding in Thessaly, Greece, killed at least one person. On the same day, the village of Zagora received 1,092 mm, 43.0 in, of rain, 55 times more than the country's average rainfall for the same month. Port Aria also recorded a new rainfall record rain of 884 mm, 34.8 in. Further rainfall could not be measured because the weather station subsequently failed. On September 6, the Krafsidonas River, which rises at Pelion, overflowed its banks in Volos and destroyed a bridge and a nursing home, while dragging cars, buses, trees, and other debris along its path. On September 7, the main Greek motorway between Athens and Thessaloniki was closed and train services between the two cities were suspended. In Thessaly, buildings and bridges tore down and whole cities submerged, where over 800 people had to be rescued. In Larissa, after the rains ended on September 8, the water continued to rise as the Piniaios River overflowed its banks to reach a level of 9.5 meters, 31 feet, compared to the normal at around 4 meters 13 feet. Since the rainfall started, the Copernicus program's rapid mapping service was activated for the flood zone in Greece, in which analysis of the Sentinel-1 data from September 7 revealed an estimated flood area of around 73,000 hectares, 180,000 acres. 17 meteorologists classified the storm as Greece's worst since records began in 1930-18. The floods in Thessaly, which supplies about 15% of Greece's agricultural production, destroyed the crops for the remainder of the year and caused serious long-term damage, as the thick layer of mud would make the soil infertile overall, taking up to 5 years to become fully functional again. 18. The governor of Thessaly, Kostas Agorastos, told the ERT that the storm damage in the region was valued at more than €2 billion. On September 10, 4 bodies were found in Greece, raising the death toll in the country to 15, with 2 people still missing as of September 11. Turkey. During the earlier days of the storm, 5 people were killed in Turkey during floods in Kirklareli, another 2 died in the Istanbul districts of Başakşehir and Kukusekmis. Bulgaria. Storm Danial on September 5, 2023. Villages on and near the Black Sea coast in Burgas province of southeastern Bulgaria were submerged, including Kosti and Arapia, with people being evacuated. 3 people were swept away after a bridge collapsed in the Tsarevo area, and another person also drowned near the town. Rainfall in Kosti was measured at 311 mm, 420% of the monthly average for September. In Adipole it amounted to 196 mm, 350% of the monthly average, in Gramatikovo to 275 mm, 368% of the monthly average. In Tsarevo, rainfall may have set a Bulgarian national record, with 330 mm of precipitation within 20 hours, 40% of the annual average. A rare waterspout was observed in the sea near Tyilanovo in northeastern Bulgaria. Libya. In Derna, at least 5,300 people were confirmed dead after 2 dams collapsed, releasing an estimated 30 million cubic meters, 39 million cubic yards, of water and causing catastrophic damage across the area after the Wadi Derna overflowed its banks 28 by 50 meters, 160 feet, on each side. Residents recalled hearing loud explosions at the time the dams burst. 30 Osama Hamada, Prime Minister of the Government of National Stability which controls eastern Libya, stated that residential neighborhoods were swept away. Videos posted to social media showed cars being submerged in the deluge. 4 bridges also collapsed, while Hamada's aviation minister Hisham Chkayuate said that 25% of Derna had disappeared, with large parts of the city dragged out to sea. Only 3 of the city's 10 districts escaped the flooding. Hamada's health minister, Othman Abduljalil, said 6,000 people were missing in Derna alone. Hospitals in the city were rendered inoperable while morgues filled up, prompting bodies to be laid out on sidewalks and in the city's main square. More than 300 bodies were sent to a morgue in Tobruk to cope with the overcrowding. About 300 of the dead were buried on September 11, mostly in mass graves. Naval teams were dispatched to recover bodies swept out to sea by the floods. Prior to the storm, residents were prevented from leaving their homes after authorities imposed a precautionary curfew on September 10. The scale of the disaster in Derna was attributed to Libya's civil war and the resulting political effects. The collapsed dams were built by a Yugoslav company in the 1970s, and the city's deputy mayor said that they had not been maintained since 2002 and were not built to withstand such volumes of water, noting that the first dam that failed upstream was only 70 meters, 230 feet, tall. The upstream dam was located 11.5 kilometers, 7 miles, from the city, at the convergence of 2 river valleys. About 170 millimeters, 6.7 in, of rain fell in Alabruk. Witnesses told Reuters that flood waters rose as high as 3.0 meters, 10 feet. Flooding also occurred in Tobruk, Taknis, Albayada, and Bata, as well as throughout Jabal al-Akhdar District 37 and in Misrata to the west. At least 150 homes were destroyed across the country, according to the Libyan Red Crescent, which also lost 3 volunteers responding to the floods. In Bata, hospitals were evacuated due to significant flooding brought by Danial and 50 people were killed and dozens missing. 45 About 414 millimeters of rain fell in the city, equivalent to 77% of its average annual total. There were also 7 deaths reported in Susa, 7 more in the towns of Omar al-Mokhtar and Shahat and another in Marj. As of September 13, according to Libyan officials, at least 6,000 people had died and between 10,000 and 100,000 others were left missing, including 7 members of the Libyan National Army. About 7,000 people were reportedly injured and 40,000 were displaced. 145 Egyptian nationals were also killed in eastern Libya. Khalifa Haftar, the de facto military ruler of eastern Libya, called the damage huge and hard to describe or measure. The disaster was seen as the worst to hit the Cyrenaica region since the 1963 Marj earthquake. On September 9, the Libyan National Oil Corporation announced a 3-day closure of 4 oil ports including Ras Lanov, Ziyatina, Brega, and Sidra. The facilities in Ras Lanov, Brega, and Sidra reopened on September 12, while the port of Ziyatina reopened on September 13. Egypt. Danial reached Egypt on September 11, where parts of the northwestern region of the country experienced moderate rainfall. Mana Ghanem, a representative from the media center of the Egyptian Meteorological Authority, refuted any connection between the strange odor and Storm Daniel. In an interview with Al-Masri Al-Yawm, Ghanem stated, "The smell that was detected has no correlation with Storm Daniel." Aftermath. Libya. The Libyan Presidential Council based in Tripoli declared the cities of Derna, Shahat, and Baida as disaster zones, while the Tripoli-based Health Ministry dispatched a plane carrying 14 tons of medical equipment, drugs, body bags, and personnel to Benghazi on September 12. The House of Representatives based in Benghazi, which controls most of the areas affected, declared 3 days of national mourning, as did the internationally recognized Government of National Unity based in Tripoli led by Prime Minister Abdul Hamid al-Dbiba. 59 Dbiba pledged an investigation over the extensive damage, as well as the allotment of 2.5 billion Libyan dinars, $515 million, to help rebuild Derna and Benghazi. Tunisia, Germany, Qatar, Iran, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates pledged humanitarian assistance to Libya, while Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that he would deploy the country's military in coordination with Eastern Libyan forces to help in relief operations. He also declared 3 days of national mourning for the victims of the floods as well as those of the 2023 Moroccan earthquake on September 8. A military delegation led by Armed Forces Chief of Staff Osama Askar went to eastern Libya on September 12 to meet with Khalifa Haftar. The delegation included 25 rescue teams and 3 military aircraft carrying humanitarian supplies. On September 12, Italy activated its civil protection departments, with Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani stating an assessment team was on their way. Anne-Claire Legendre, a spokesperson for France's foreign ministry, announced that the country was ready to respond to requests made by Libya's government. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the organization was on standby to bring support, while the Commission's President Ursula von der Leyen expressed condolences. The World Health Organization sent a shipment consisting of 40 tons of aid to Libya. Algeria has responded to a request made by the President of the Libyan Presidential Council, Mohamed Al-Menfi, by sending
September
8 aircraft
5th,
carrying
2023.
humanitarian aid. The aid includes food supplies, medical equipment, clothing, and tents. 65-66. The disruption of oil exports from Libya due to the storm contributed to the price of Brent crude rising to $92.38 per barrel on September 12, the highest price recorded since November 2022.